Tell me why I just got catcalled, y'all. She's crowning. Yay. Like when I would see my biological parents do cocaine, I was still treating the outside world as if I was still in that environment. Oh my god. Oh my god. What up? What is that noise? Anyways, hey y'all. Wait, let me show y'all the fit. I'm just going for basic twink today. But my beard shadow's out, so I'm a little bricky today. Today we're gonna go to dinner together. We're gonna be talking about trauma. The internet's favorite thing, because people love talking about trauma on the internet for views. So today we will be milking our childhood. So today we will be milking our childhood trauma. Oh my gosh, I don't know why that took me 4 times to say. But no, actually we're gonna be talking about how to actually navigate healing from your childhood trauma and becoming a better person that isn't dictated from your past. You know, that's what we're gonna be here to talk about. So the inspiration for today's video is actually the argument I had with my mother like a couple hours ago where I was reminded how much I have been able to separate myself from the trauma that I endured in the environment I was in, and really just like the emotional immaturity. I would say that's the biggest thing for me, and the house I live right now. And then, you know, we have my childhood trauma where I was in the foster care. Oh yeah, fun fact, I was in the foster care system for 8 years and my bio parents were both drug addicts, yada yada yada. We'll get more into that. I'm not here to trauma dump, but I guess I'm gonna have to a little bit. But this is the mug for today. I did a get ready with me. What are we feeling? I'm sorry, I never really cared about my beard shadow until I started posting on the internet, and then bitches were always talking about my beard shadow. But they never do it for like the gay men, but because they see me as a trans person, like they're always trying to clock me. But what they don't realize is that I'm unclockable because I really don't care. Anyways, let's walk and talk, because actually for this place we do need a reservation, so I don't know if there's gonna actually be a table open, so we're gonna find out. Oh yeah, but that was the inspiration for today's video, because it's so interesting when you're in the same environment that really caused a lot of mental distress, we'll put it like that. Like learning how to navigate that mental distress while actually living in the same environment. I didn't live in the same environment for like 4 years because of college. So like I had the opportunity, I almost ran into an entire pipe because I can't see anything with this bright ass light. It was interesting going from college where I was separated and I had access to therapy, and I got to think about what exactly didn't I like about the environment that I lived in, because obviously when you're in the environment, like you get used to it, like you're used to that everyday chaos. But once you leave, then you realize actually maybe our parents should learn how to communicate and not scream at their child just because they're mad. Maybe our parents should learn not to throw shit just because they're feeling some emotion. You know, maybe that's not normal. Maybe it's not normal to be snorting up cocaine to get by every day. Maybe we don't have to do that while having a child. But maybe that's just me, maybe that's my thoughts. But yeah, that's what we're gonna be talking about. That we're going to this place called Hot Joy. It's like this Asian fusion restaurant, so it's pretty good. I've been here one time and it was actually with my ex. So we'll be cleansing the space as well. This is the place we're going to. Yes. I didn't get a reservation, so we're gonna see if there's spots. It's a Sunday at like 10 p.m. so I feel like we should go. I do like all this like decorations and stuff. It's very cute. Thank you. I'm doing good. How are you? What's funny is the last time I was here with my ex, this is the exact table that we got before. This is the menu. Yeah, it's cute. Sorry, whenever I have a ponytail, I love shaking the shades. Thank you. We have the food. Wow, it's the pineapple chicken and the who would have thought? Who would have thought? Anyways, yeah, now that I've been living at home for the past year because I graduated from college and then I wasn't able to actually get employed, and it's been a year. Going from an environment where I can be myself 24/7 and not have to turn my emotions off, to coming back to like having to set so many boundaries with this grown woman because she doesn't know how to regulate her emotions, and she uses me whenever I'm here. Like I am the center of her world, to the point where she's like codependent a little bit. So being in an environment where I have to constantly advocate for my boundaries and kind of have to be really private and give very vague, short answers to keep the peace, it isn't very enjoyable. It's interesting because when I was growing up, all the routines that she had, all the projecting she did towards me, like felt normal, even though it impacted me and I'd cry and things like that. And even when I was in the foster care system, like it felt normal to have parents you couldn't trust, parents that you knew that were gonna lie to you, parents that were gonna be a deadbeat. Like I thought that was normal for everybody. And so I started talking to other people at the school and realizing that it doesn't have to be like that. Oh yeah, it does. I'm done. Y'all, that flame was hot. I still feel it. But yeah, it's interesting when you're in those environments and it feels very normalized and the people around you are normalizing it too, because even if you talk about what's bothering you or what shouldn't be normal, they'll gaslight you and act like it is normal. It's interesting growing up in that environment, and then once you leave for a short period of time, seeing that life doesn't have to be like that. It shouldn't be normal for these adult figures in your life to be treating their kids like that. Even if these adult figures are, providing for you financially or with a physical home, those type of like monetary things. Obviously that's appreciated, but at the end of the day, part of parenting is also teaching your kid how to be independent and how to feel their emotions and how to navigate their emotions, because their parent is the first person that's going to impact their emotions, At least in my mind, like that is an important part of parenting. But your body remembers how people treat you as a person. It remembers how you feel interacting with someone, Hold it. My nose is dripping. I have makeup on. Oh my. Ooh. I hated that. I felt like I was giving myself a COVID nostril swab. Yeah, that was the right one. And even when I was growing up in these environments, like I did notice that these things weren't normal and weren't something I wanted to be a part with. Like when I would see my biological parents do cocaine, I think it's pretty easy to figure out in your brain that, maybe we shouldn't be doing that. Maybe we don't need to be spending our $10 that we barely have on some grams of this white powder. Maybe we don't need to do that. Like imagine being a 6-year-old kid telling your grown mother this. Who would have thought? And I say all this to say, even despite all these environmental factors that could have easily made me hate the world, be very negative when I'm talking to people, being a hateful, mean person, I haven't let it get to me like that. I try my best to be optimistic and brighten people's day, compliment them, try to give them some good energy, because I know what it feels like to not have good energy in your everyday life. Having to hide certain parts of you, having to protect and have boundaries within your everyday life. So why would I want someone else to feel that way when they're around me? I always like to think with a hopeful mindset, because it just helps me remind myself that all this current things I'm going through are just permanent. Of course, I don't know how long it will last. And I think that's the hard part. Like something not being permanent doesn't mean it won't be in your life for years or days, months, the timeline isn't determined. And I feel like that's the scary part about something that's not permanent. This is so random, but my pants have a hole in them. Oh, yeah, I'm doing good. Thanks. I'm sorry, I hope they didn't hear that. And for me, reminding myself of that just helps me continue working towards my goals, so one day I can actually obtain them, and that reality that I'm living isn't permanent. Obviously right now my goal is to get a job so I'm not unemployed, so eventually I can move out. That is the goal, but obviously we don't know the timeline for all this. We don't know when we're going to get a job. We don't know when we're going to move out, but we know it will happen because we're working towards it. So it will happen eventually. When that day will be, girl, I don't know. It also just helps ground me, because in those moments where something bad happens, like say I argue with my mother, and I'm just not feeling very good after, obviously, I typically start losing my mind a little bit. Remembrance that the reality that I'm living is not permanent does help soothe the wound a little bit. But obviously in those moments, just like everybody else, I'm not very optimistic. I'm overthinking, I'm sad. Sometimes I have a depressive episode for a few days. All those initial emotions are normal and occur to me as well. As much as I try to be optimistic, and I'm bringing this up because I'm very thankful that people are seeing me as a very positive energy, very optimistic, having a hopeful lens in life. But obviously I'm private, just like everybody else. I have moments where I'm not giving that. I'm not very nice to myself, and that's something I've been working on. I think it's important to remind yourself how much you've gone through and how much you've worked and grown as a person, because just like you give other people grace, you should try to give yourself some of that grace and remind yourself that you've come a long way. I know, and for me, sometimes I get mad at myself for not editing a video or not applying to a job on a certain day, not reaching out to people, yada, yada, yada. I started being really mean to myself and I'm like, oh, I never do anything right. I'm just a failure. You know, very mean things that aren't even true. I've come a long way. Like I went from being in the foster care system to getting a full ride to college, to getting into Ivy League summer programs, to getting to Ivy League master programs and yada, yada, yada. And personally, that was just the journey that I wanted to go on. Like I wanted to go through an academic stuff. And I was able to achieve these goals that I had in these academic journeys, despite everything that was happening both in my past, but also in my current life, you know? As long as I'm actively working towards my goals and I try my best to achieve them, like that to me is not being a failure. And that doesn't have to happen every single day. Like girl, you're just gonna burn out and you're gonna lose your mind. You deserve those days to have breaks. You deserve to have those moments to go experience life, whatever that means to you. Like, I don't know, I guess I'm just saying this because I know for me, like I struggle with that. Like I think sometimes I get into this survival mode where I don't let myself to actually live and enjoy the life that I began to build for myself, you know? So it's important to allow yourself to celebrate those achievements that you've already built in life, even if they're just small everyday achievements, like getting out of bed after being in a depressive episode. Like girl, that is an achievement, girl. People get so stuck in comparing their achievements to other people or, you know, their large life goals and don't recognize the small wins that they're having each day, or even larger wins, because getting out of bed after having a depressive episode, girl, that's a bigger win than just a small one. Why don't we celebrate those wins? Like go get yourself a cake and be like, celebrating 5 minutes out of bed, I don't know. I'd be like celebrating day 5 of brushing my teeth. Yeah, we're opening her up. She's crowning. Yes. Before I continue that, we're gonna pay this check and go sit somewhere else. Oh my god. These pants are way too tight, girl. That's one thing I hate about tight ass jeans is you can't get anything from your pocket. Anyways, we are here walking, as y'all can see. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. It's bright. I almost ran into the same pole earlier. Anyways, I'm gonna go to my car real quick and then we're gonna continue this conversation. So give me like 3 milliseconds for y'all, but like a minute for me because I don't feel like walking fast, so. Yeah! Tell me why I just got catcalled, y'all. I didn't even get it on camera, so I can't even exploit, man. But actually, I don't know what they said. They just pulled up on me, which was a little scary. I was just walking, minding my business, and then a car just stops right next to me, and he's saying something. But obviously, my beard's out. If I look where they can see me too clearly, it's not gonna be good for me. So we just got into the car and ignored them. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. And I guess I'm thinking about that because, you know, since I've been living here at home for a year and seeing the difference between how I'm living my life now and how I was living my life before I left, really highlights to me how much growth I have. And I think this is where I need to take my own advice, where I need to like celebrate that accomplishment, because it takes a lot of work to be able to rewire your neurons enough to feel so safe within yourself that even when you're in an environment that's really triggering, you're still able to feel yourself. If I'm being honest, when I'm in an environment that's triggering, I wouldn't say I feel like my full self, but I can tell that environment doesn't impact me as much when I'm like gone, you know? Because before, like even when I was outside of the environment that, you know, was hurting me emotionally, I was still treating the outside world as if I was still in that environment. And that really halted me from opportunities of meeting new people, exploring and romantically traveling, doing, you know, just enjoying life, not just surviving life, you know? And it wasn't until therapy and unpacking my childhood trauma, really just like sitting there, journaling, talking to myself. I love talking to myself. That helps me so much, honestly. It forced me to recognize the reality that I was living, as well as recognize the reality that I want one day, the reality that I yearn for. And, you know, for me, I yearn for a reality where I don't have chaos within my life, in my everyday life, where the environment that I live in doesn't emotionally dysregulate me, where I can just feel my emotions in my home, not having to drive outside somewhere and actually feel it. Because that's one thing I have to do right now. Because I can't express my emotions at home, because they'll be used against me. I then have to go drive to a nearby parking lot or go to the gym. You know, I need to go somewhere so I can actually be in a space where I feel safe enough to feel my emotions and actually recognize them and deal with them head on rather than avoid them. So when I'm at home, it's a little annoying because I wish I could just feel them right there. If you're in a situation where, you know, you're realizing you're outgrowing your current environment, that it's actively hurting you, whether emotionally, physically, etc., the most important piece of advice I'm going to give you is finding ways to step outside of that environment, even if it's just for 10 minutes. Those 10 minutes can be so beneficial. So just allow yourself to regulate a little bit, even if that means walking around the block or sitting outside. Or when you're at school, I don't know, lie that you're in an extracurricular, so then you get to stay at school for an extra hour to just vibe and think about yourself, you know? It's not ideal that you have to go outside of your way to feel this temporary safety in these new environments, but if you're relating to things I'm saying, like, that's just your reality right now, and that's okay. But it won't be permanent. As long as you continue working towards those future goals, you're going to slowly build that life where you're in a better space. I guess that's kind of where I'm at. I'm in a spot where I'm recognizing all the growth I've had, and I'm very happy with myself that I was able to get through everything I've gone through and end up in a positive mindset, even though things in my life right now aren't going how I would like. Yeah, that's all my thoughts for today, y'all. Honestly, this video made me in a better mood, even though earlier I was crying. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being here. Thank you for commenting and liking the video if you have. And yeah, I'll see y'all later. Trust.